Have you ever felt like you missed your chance, like life's last bus just drove away, leaving you alone in the cold? What if that missed moment wasn't a mistake at all, but the universe slowing you down to find something real? The missed bus. It was almost midnight in Copenhagen. The streets were quiet, the lights dim, and the air carried that kind of cold that makes you question every life choice you've ever made. Emma stood at the bus stop, holding her phone, staring at the glowing schedule that said one cruel word: cancelled. She had missed the last bus home. Again, you know that feeling, right? When everything seems to go wrong at once, your plans, your timing, your energy. It's not just missing a bus. It's missing control. Missing direction. Missing life's rhythm. Her feet were frozen, but her thoughts ran wild. Why does everything feel stuck? I'm trying so hard, learning English, working, surviving, but nothing seems to move forward. For a moment, the world felt silent. Too silent. The kind of silence that feels heavy, like it's pressing against your chest. Emma could hear only her own breath and the sound of her disappointment echoing in her mind. But here's something strange about silence. It often whispers truths you've been too busy to hear. Maybe that's why life makes us miss things sometimes. Not to punish us, but to pause us. Emma didn't know it yet, but this quiet, lonely bus stop would soon become her classroom. Not the kind where you memorize words, but the kind where you learn how to listen. And as the night stretched longer, something unexpected was about to happen. The stranger at the stop. Emma rubbed her hands together, trying to keep warm. The street was empty, the air biting. But then, from the other side of the quiet square, came the sound of slow, careful footsteps. That an old man appeared, maybe in his 70s, wearing a thick wool coat, a flat cap, and carrying a paper bag filled with bread. He looked like someone who had walked through thousands of Danish winters and had made peace with them all. That he stopped a few feet away, smiled, and said softly in English, "Cold night, isn't it?" His accent was clearly Danish, but his tone was gentle, the kind that instantly disarms you. Emma hesitated for a moment, surprised that someone in Denmark would start a conversation in English so late at night. "Yes," she replied, her voice shaking slightly. I missed my bus." The man chuckled, that kind of laugh that sounds like it has lived a full life. "Well," he said, "maybe the bus missed you too." That made her laugh, her first real laugh that night. It broke the ice between them. The man sat on the bench beside her, placing his bag on his lap. The smell of fresh bread filled the air. That he offered her a small piece, saying, "It helps against the cold." Emma accepted. The bread was still warm. Somehow, it felt like kindness itself had a temperature. They sat there, two strangers, under the pale glow of the streetlight. No noise. No rush. Just a quiet connection, the kind you never plan for but always remember. In that moment, Emma realized something simple but powerful. Language isn't just about words. It's about presence. About someone looking at you and saying, without saying, "You're not alone." And just like that, what began as a missed bus started to feel like a beginning. Small talk in the cold. The wind brushed against their faces, but somehow the conversation kept them warm. The old man spoke slowly, with pauses between his words, the kind of rhythm perfect for a language learner. "So, you are not from Denmark, right?" he asked. Emma smiled shyly. "No. I moved here last year. Still learning English and Danish. But English is hard enough." He nodded with understanding. "Ah, English," he said, stretching the word as if it carried both beauty and pain. "It's like winter. Cold at first, but after some time, you learn how to breathe in it." Emma laughed softly. "Sometimes I feel like I'll never get better. I listen, but I don't understand. I read, but I forget. I speak, but I freeze." The old man looked at her with kind eyes. "Then you are learning perfectly." She blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" He smiled. "Learning any language is like standing out here in the cold. At first, you fight it. You want to run inside, hide from mistakes. But if you stay, if you breathe through the discomfort, your body learns. Your mind learns. You become stronger." His words lingered in the air. Emma looked up at the night sky, stars peeking through the gray clouds. For the first time that evening, she wasn't thinking about the bus, or the time, or her exhaustion. She was simply listening. Then he asked a simple question. "Do you know what the best part of missing a bus is?" She shook her head. "It forces you to stop running," he said. "And when you stop running, you finally start seeing." There was silence again, but this time, it didn't feel empty. It felt full. Emma nodded slowly. Maybe missing something isn't always bad." The old man grinned. "Exactly. Sometimes life teaches you English and patience at the same time." And both of them laughed, quietly, as if the night itself were listening. The lesson of waiting. The streetlight flickered softly as they sat side by side, two souls wrapped in winter and conversation. The old man leaned back, his breath forming tiny clouds in the air. "You know," he began, "I used to be an English teacher. Many years ago. I taught students from all over the world, Japan, Turkey, Vietnam, even Greenland." Emma's eyes lit up. "Really? So you taught English here in Denmark?" He nodded. "Yes. But I didn't just teach grammar or vocabulary. I tried to teach patience." He smiled at her puzzled look. "Most people think learning English is about studying words. But it's really about learning to wait for your tongue to remember, your ears to adjust, your brain to connect the dots." He looked at her directly. "Do you know what I told my students?" Emma shook her head. "I said, don't fight the silence between words. That's where understanding grows." She repeated it softly, as if memorizing something sacred. "Don't fight the silence between words." He nodded approvingly. "Exactly. When you listen, truly listen, English stops being a wall and starts being a window. Emma smiled, but then sighed. Sometimes I just feel so behind. Like everyone else is moving faster. The old man chuckled. That's the lie speed tells you, that faster means better. But language doesn't care how fast you go. It cares how deeply you listen. The wind grew stronger. A loose leaf tumbled across the street, spinning wildly before landing near their feet. The old man pointed at it. See that leaf? It doesn't fight the wind. It moves with it. That's how you should learn. Emma stared at the leaf, her breath visible in the cold. For the first time, she understood. Maybe learning wasn't about control. It was about surrender, and for that brief, frozen moment, waiting didn't feel like wasting time. It felt like living time. A cup of warm tea. The old man looked at Emma's shivering hands and said, "Come on. There's a cafe still open nearby. Let's warm up a little." They walked through the quiet Copenhagen street, the kind where footsteps echo against old brick walls, until they found a small cafe glowing with yellow light. Inside, it smelled of cinnamon, coffee, and calmness. The waiter greeted them in Danish, but the old man answered in slow English, "2 teas, please. And maybe something sweet." They sat by the window. Outside, snow had started to fall, small, shy flakes landing gently on the glass. The old man stirred his tea with steady hands. "Do you know why I like tea?" he asked. Emma smiled. "Because it's warm?" He grinned. "Because it teaches patience. You can't rush tea. If you pour too soon, it's weak. If you wait just right, it becomes strong." Emma laughed. "So, English is like tea?" "Exactly," he said. "You have to let it steep in you." She repeated the word, slowly. "Steep." He nodded. "It means to soak. To let something sink in. Like words. Like experiences. You don't just memorize, you live with them." Emma took a sip of her tea, feeling the warmth spread through her chest. "Sometimes I feel like I'm learning too slowly," she admitted. "Like I'll never speak fluently." The old man smiled gently. "Do you know what fluency really means? It's not speaking fast. It's speaking with feeling. When you can say a simple sentence and mean every word, that's fluency." Emma stared into her cup. The reflection of the cafe lights danced on the surface of the tea. "So, maybe I'm not behind," she said softly. "No," he replied. "You're just steeping." They both laughed, the kind of laugh that sounds like understanding. For the first time that night, Emma felt not like a student, but like a participant. In language, in life, in the moment. Outside, the snow fell heavier, covering the city in quiet softness, like the world itself had decided to slow down with them. Stories of the past. The cafe had grown quieter. Only the sound of soft jazz played in the background, the kind of music that feels like memory. Emma leaned closer as the old man began to speak again, his voice carrying the calm weight of years. You know, he said, when I was young, I missed many things. Opportunities. People. Even dreams. Emma tilted her head. What happened? He smiled faintly, eyes distant. I wanted to be a musician once. I practiced every night, but one day, I was offered a teaching job. I said, just for a year. Then years turned into decades. I never played again. He took a slow sip of tea. At first, I thought I'd missed my destiny. But over time, I learned, maybe destiny isn't a single road. Maybe it's every step we take, even the ones that seem like detours. Emma nodded thoughtfully. So, even when we miss something, we might still be on the right path? Exactly, he said. You see, I met my wife in one of my English classes. I met my best friend because I didn't get the job I wanted. And tonight, he smiled warmly, I met you, because you missed a bus. Emma laughed, a sound bright and real. So, maybe missing things brings the right things closer? He nodded. Yes. Life hides meaning inside mistakes. The trick is not to rush past them. For a long moment, they sat in silence again, but this time, it was full of gratitude. Emma thought about her own life. How many times she'd felt lost learning English, how many moments she'd wanted to quit. But now, hearing his words, she felt something shift inside her. Maybe every word she'd struggled with, every moment she'd felt stuck, they were all leading her somewhere too. The old man looked out the window, where the snow had thickened. Do you know what's beautiful about snow? He asked. What? It covers everything equally, the mistakes, the right turns, the wrong ones. It forgives the path. Emma smiled softly. Maybe that's what learning does too. Yes, he said, eyes glinting. Learning forgives the past. And as they sat together, time seemed to slow down, not wasted, but tenderly returned. The bus arrives again. The cafe clock ticked past 2 a.m. The snow outside had turned the city into a soft, white silence. Emma and the old man finished their tea, the warmth still lingering in their hands. I guess I'll have to walk home, she said, glancing at the empty street. The old man smiled knowingly. You might be surprised. Copenhagen has a way of giving second chances, even to buses. Emma laughed. That would be a miracle tonight. But as they stepped outside, the sound of an engine broke through the quiet. Down the street, a single bus appeared, its headlights cutting through the snow, moving slowly toward the stop. Emma blinked in disbelief. No way, the old man grinned. You see? Sometimes what's meant for you finds its way back, just a little late. As the bus pulled in, Emma turned to him. I don't even know your name. He chuckled. Call me Peter. Everyone does. She smiled. Thank you, Peter, for the tea, the talk, everything. He tipped his hat gently. Thank you for listening. Most people forget how to. Emma hesitated before stepping onto the bus. Will I see you again? He looked at her kindly, eyes warm under the falling snow. Maybe. Or maybe you'll just remember the lesson, and that will be enough. The bus doors closed. Through the window, Emma watched him grow smaller, until he was just a figure standing under the streetlight, surrounded by snow, a quiet guardian of missed chances. As the bus began to move, she leaned against the cold glass, her reflection blending with the city lights. The driver, an older woman with kind eyes, said softly, "You're lucky. This one wasn't supposed to come tonight." Emma smiled faintly. Maybe it was always meant to. Outside, the streets glowed with a calm, forgiving light. The bus hummed softly, like a heartbeat returning to rhythm, and for the first time in a long while, Emma didn't feel behind. She felt right on time. The journey within. The bus rolled through the sleeping city, its windows fogged from the warmth inside. Emma sat by herself, forehead resting lightly against the glass. The snow outside looked peaceful, not cold anymore, like the world had softened overnight. She thought about Peter, the stranger who appeared out of nowhere, carrying a bag of bread and 1,000 gentle lessons. His words replayed in her mind. When you stop running, you finally start seeing. Emma whispered it to herself, slowly, clearly, practicing her English not as a student, but as someone who had learned something real. Maybe missing the bus wasn't bad luck. Maybe it was life's way of slowing me down. The rhythm of the wheels on the snowy road sounded almost like a heartbeat. She smiled. For the first time, the silence didn't scare her. It comforted her. It spoke a language she now understood, the language of waiting, of listening, of trust. She took out her small notebook, the one she used to write English phrases in. Under the last line, "Don't give up," she added a new one. Sometimes, the things we miss are just things meant to find us later. When the bus finally reached her stop, she stepped off and looked back one last time. The city was quiet. No one else around. Just snow, light, and the faint trace of a story that had changed her. Emma took a deep breath and whispered into the stillness, "Thank you." And though no one answered, she felt it, that sense of being understood, even without words. Sometimes, learning English, or anything in life, isn't about getting every word right. It's about learning to pause, to listen, to keep showing up, even when the bus doesn't. She smiled as she walked home through the snow, each step slow and deliberate, as if she were speaking to the night itself. "Maybe," she said softly, "I didn't miss the bus after all." That's all for today. I'll be making more videos like this in the future. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss them.